Hello everyone, we are from Group 3. We'll deliver how to teach poetry, musicalization, and activate speaking skill. Let's enjoy the video.
Okay, musicalization of poetry is a process of creating poetry musical performance in which the starting point is the poem itself. And the main goal of that activity is to highlight the message and meaning conveyed in the poem clearer and stronger.
Why teachers should teach poetry musicalization? It will be more interesting and useful for students to learn English because musicalization of poetry is an intriguing class project for students. It enables them to dig into their creativity and talent in speaking and performing poetry, and at the same time speeding up their comprehension of. For the first point is accompanied by music that can support the poetry musicalization performance that is harmonious with the theme of the poetry, and students can be more expressive and creative in expressing their poetry through tones and rhythms, as its defining elements that will be aided by musical instruments, which will later can make reference and touch the feeling of the listeners.
The next is poetry musicalization can be applied to art performances such as a musical drama so that the performance will be more interesting because there is a poem that also have a musical nuances. Third is the interesting literary. The literary in a poetry musicalization is reading poetry accompanied by the playing a musical instruments. Poetry is performed by reading poetry without being sung, but during the reading of poetry there is a live back sound or playing musical instruments.
Things that must be prepared for teaching. Before transferring your material to the students, it's better for you to prepare the important things that let you easily in teaching. They are: first, prepare the knowledge, understanding, and mental health. These two things are very important for you to consider. The good understanding of knowledge will let you easily in teaching all the materials and answer the students' curiosities. You also have to prepare your mental so that you won't get easily confused or mad while teaching your students. The next is identify your students' criteria and demand. You should know who your students are, how they can study well, what obstacles that they may have faced, and etc. And you also have to know about your students' demand, especially for the special grade students.
The third point that you must consider is prepare your learning material like video and also exercise to support you when you teach poetry musicalization itself. So guys, you can see in this slide, there is example from YouTube, and the other one is example of some exercise that can stimulate their speaking skill. So, in this case, you can ask all about the question related to poetry musicalization itself, like creating, design, and so on.
How to teach poetry musicalization? Coming up with a starting point for teaching poetry musicalization. For the first point is you have to provide main material for poetry musicalization, which is important for students to know and understand. This is important as it seems to be what students find more challenging. Introduce poems that have interesting structures and explore the reasons behind. Students can then experiment with structures in their own poems. And the second is you have to provide an examples of video poetry musicalization. Introduce poetry musicalization with poems that your students can relate to. Show them a range of poems, including those you think are too hard for them. Include a variety of forms, genres, and poets. This will encourage students to raise their performance and broaden their poetry toolkit, as well as being enjoyable.
The third is ask students to analyze video by paying attention to the elements. The elements that should be considered to analyze poetry musicalization are dominant melody or word, theme or topic, the setting of poetry musicalization, and also the purpose of poetry musicalization.
D. Ask students to prepare the poetry musicalization. In this stage, ask students to take or make a poetry. They can choose any theme such as like nature, family, personality, social inequality, and etc. After that, they should make the music that will accompany the poetry. They can choose guitar, harmonica, or piano as their instruments. The next step is practicing. They should practice their poetry musicalization by considering the appearance, appreciation, expressions, and vowels. E. Ask students to present their poetry musicalization. After they finish all the preparations, it's time for them to present it. They can record themselves by using the video camera or handphone. After that, they should send the video to their teacher. They also have to share their video to their social media.
Well, that's all about our video related to poetry musicalization itself. We hope guys this video can be useful to all English teacher. Thank you.